Hi, I'm Oscarito, and this is a Minecraft movie. A group of people use a mysterious artifact to enter a parallel world where the laws of physics are entirely different. But the artifact is damaged, and to fix it, they must embark on a dangerous journey. The story begins with a boy named Steve, whose obsessive dream is to enter a forbidden mine guarded by a grumpy old miner. As he grows up, Steve finally sneaks in. Swinging his pickaxe, he not only conquers his childhood trauma, but also discovers two strange objects. When combined, they open a portal to the overworld, a realm built entirely of blocks, where survival depends on imagination, creativity, and a passion for building. Here's what Jack Black, who plays Steve, says about it. "The best thing in Minecraft is creative mode, where you can build anything out of anything, whatever your mind can imagine. Wouldn't it be cool if real life worked that way too? I mean, technically it kind of does. People built the pyramids, right? But in Minecraft it's way easier. You can build a mansion in hours, not years. It's like giving your inner architect full control." Steve decides to stay in this world. One day, a gray wolf named Dennis mistakes him for a pig. The two become friends, and soon Steve discovers a second portal, this one leading to the Nether, a realm ruled by piglins. Their queen, Malgosia, is plotting to seize the Sphere of Dominion, and with it take over the overworld. To save his new blocky paradise, Steve orders Dennis to hide the sphere in his old world and stays behind to cover his escape. The wolf makes it through the portal and hides the artifact under Steve's bed. The story then shifts to Garrett, a washed-up former arcade champion who now runs a vintage gaming store packed with old consoles, cartridges, and dusty arcade cabinets. Faced with bankruptcy, Garrett attends a storage auction featuring items from someone named Steve, including a box for an ultra-rare Cosmos console. Hoping to flip it for a profit, Garrett outbids everyone. But instead of retro gold, the box is full of junk, including some blocky artifacts. Meanwhile, Henry, a boy new in town, arrives with his older sister Natalie, who dropped out of Nevermore Academy, dyed her hair, and found a job to support them after their mother passed away. They meet their quirky realtor Dawn, who also runs a mobile petting zoo. On his way to his new school, with a pizza Natalie packed for lunch, Henry stops by Garrett's store. Garrett trades some helpful as a fur coat and a sauna advice for a slice. At school, trying to prove his engineering genius, Henry straps a rocket backpack to a skeleton. But classmates secretly cut the power cable, causing the skeleton to crash into the nearby chip factory, where his sister works. Their teacher offers a vital life lesson. If something goes wrong, run first and act innocent later. Henry calls Garrett and convinces him to pretend to be his uncle. The school principal, Ms. Marlin, recognizes Garrett as a former local celebrity turned junk dealer. She's had a thing for younger men since her days as a baker and starts flirting, but Garrett stays as stoic as a true gamer. Back at the store, Henry becomes fascinated by the Sphere of Dominion and the Earth Crystal. The instructions strictly warn, never combine these objects. So naturally, the boys do exactly that, and the combined artifact pulls them toward an abandoned mine. Dennis, still hoping to return home, follows. Deep inside the mine lies an ancient portal, gathering power for years, waiting to be found. Natalie and Dawn, tracking Henry via phone GPS, arrive just as the sphere activates, sucking all four of them into the portal. They land in a vibrant, pixelated world where everything follows the rules of cubism, not the Cuba you're thinking of. Meanwhile, in the Nether, Malgosia senses the sphere's return. She visits Steve, imprisoned in her dungeon, and threatens to kill Dennis unless he helps retrieve the artifact. Not knowing his friend escaped, Steve agrees. Suddenly, night falls in the overworld. Undead creatures emerge and attack. Garrett falls into a pit, stumbles into a dungeon, and escapes like a discount Prince of Persia. Henry flees from skeleton archers riding spiders, crashes into a tree, and accidentally turns it into raw materials. Instinctively, he picks them up and crafts a fortress around Natalie and Dawn. Garrett climbs out of the dungeon, only to meet a creeper. A smack to its green face activates its self-destruct. He survives the blast and sees zombies closing in. Henry calls to him from atop the newly built tower. Garrett picks up the fallen sphere, but a skeleton's arrow knocks it from his hands, shattering the earth crystal and deactivating the portal. Henry breaks the tower from the inside to let Garrett in, but an arrow-triggered creeper explosion blasts a hole in the wall, letting monsters in. Suddenly, Steve arrives and fights off the undead with the skill of a Winchester brother. The battle is short-lived. Daylight comes and the sun vaporizes the monsters in seconds. Steve tells the newcomers they'll need another earth crystal to get home. He agrees to help if they hand over the sphere. They head to a nearby village to gather supplies. On the way, Steve explains that the villagers are pacifists, and peace is maintained by towering iron golems. Meanwhile, in the Nether, Queen Malgosia dispatches a strike team to the overworld, led by her ruthless general. Because sunlight is lethal to them, the piglins drink protective potions before departure. Natalie and Dawn set off to search for a world map, while Steve takes Henry and Garrett to his workshop. There, he reveals his arsenal, diamond armor, and a teleportation pearl. Garrett, ever curious and impulsive, tosses the pearl, using its only charge. Steve then teaches them the basics of crafting. Garrett somehow creates nunchucks from 2 buckets, not quite a masterpiece, but functional. Henry crafts a handheld cannon. Sensing an opportunity, Garrett pressures Steve into revealing a shortcut to the forest mansion, hinting he knows it lies near the diamond mines Steve had mentioned. Without that shortcut, no one's getting the sphere back. Suddenly, the village is attacked. Piglins descend from the sky in hot air balloons equipped with flamethrowers. True to their piggy nature, they sow chaos, scattering the peaceful villagers. Steve and the others prepare to defend the village. Garrett tries to challenge the piglin general to a duel but accidentally knocks out Steve, and then gets pummeled himself. He tries his favorite gaming combo move, only to get smacked. Just in time, an iron golem intervenes and saves him. Regaining consciousness, Steve orders a retreat. A fireball separates Natalie from her brother. Dawn urges her to take the long way around. It's safer. Climbing the village wall, Steve straps elytra wings onto his friends and tells them to jump off the cliff and head toward the mountains. Garrett shoves Henry off the edge, but the wings kick in and he glides. Garrett follows. Then Steve, realizing he only has 2 sets of wings, leaps and rides Garrett like Daenerys on a dragon. They're chased by piglins in balloons, firing fireballs. One piglin lands on Henry's back mid-air. Dodging through a canyon, the group manages to shake off some pursuers, but there are still too many. On the cliffs ahead waits the hoof-armored cavalry. Piglins leap onto Garrett and Steve, nearly bringing them down. Spotting a wall with a hole blown out by a fireball, Steve shouts to aim for the gap. But they're too big to fit side by side. They'll have to squeeze in, spooning style. Channeling his inner Luke Skywalker, Garrett narrowly glides through. The piglins crash behind them. Henry, trailing behind, uses a firework boost to gain speed and knock off the piglin on his back, but loses control and crashes into the others. They all crash land, thankfully not over 325 episodes worth of injuries. After spooking a bunch of multiplying pandas, Steve shares a backstory. Malgosia once dreamed of becoming a dancer, but after being laughed off stage at a talent show, she turned her hatred of creativity into a national ideology. Their path leads through the mountains. Pressured by Garrett, Steve chooses to go through the caves instead. Back in the Nether, Malgosia learns of her squad's failure and unleashes a monstrous hog beast to retrieve the sphere. Natalie and Dawn trek through the forest toward the mountains. That night, they're ambushed by zombies, but Dennis the Wolf charges in to save them. Dawn tames him with a zombie bone. Inside the caves, Steve shows them redstone, a material that conducts energy, essentially Minecraft's version of electrical wiring. Garrett accidentally activates a trap, which surprisingly opens a hidden door to a crystal vault. Overjoyed, he stuffs his pockets, already picturing the profits. Suddenly, Steve smells the hog beast approaching. "Time to craft legs," he says, meaning run. They hop in a minecart, hit the power, and zoom off. At a junction, the cart diverts into an unpowered tunnel crawling with creepers. Henry spots Redstone ahead. Garrett has to push the cart by hand while the hog beast closes in. Steve orders them to attack the creepers, detonating them on purpose. Reaching the redstone, the cart gets powered, speeding them to safety, leaving the explosions and the beast behind. At the forest mansion, Steve explains the earth crystal is on the 3rd floor, guarded on every level. They devise a plan. The men will pose as a wandering musical duo to distract the guards while Henry sneaks upstairs. The plan works, at first. But on the 2nd floor, Henry is spotted and hides in a storage room filled with crates and wardrobes. In a crate by the far wall, he finds the crystal, but a 3rd-floor guardian is already there. Looking Henry in the eye, the guardian forces him to confront his worst fears. Visions of Natalie, Steve, and Garrett calling him a failure. Summoning his courage, Henry swings his axe and banishes the guardian. His reward, a teleportation pearl. Meanwhile, the guards discover the musicians, capture Steve and Garrett, and throw them into a fight with a zombie chicken rider. Despite the bizarre opponent, the duo holds their own and beats them back. Just as Garrett is about to lose, Steve breaks free and saves him. At that moment, Henry crashes through the ceiling, having broken through from above. With the earth crystal in hand, the trio escapes, but outside, they're ambushed by a fresh squad of piglins, led by Malgosia herself. She snatches the sphere of dominion and orders the bridge destroyed. Thinking fast, Garrett throws Henry onto a balloon. Steve jumps after him. Garrett stays behind to hold off the piglins, taking out waves of them until an explosion destroys the bridge. The shockwave propels the balloon away. They crash land. Everyone blacks out. Steve wakes up to Dennis licking his face. With the girls by his side, he uses the wolf's tracking ability to find their friends by scent. Meanwhile, Malgosia installs the Sphere of Dominion above the Nether portal, casting a massive shadow and blocking out the sun. Without sunlight, the overworld is overrun by undead and invaders from the Nether, allowing piglins to roam the surface freely. Seeing the world plunged into darkness, the people unite to fight back. They mine resources, craft armor, and tame wolves. As Malgosia rallies her minion army, the villagers build their own golem army, including a flying golem general. But the golems can't strike first. They must be provoked. Fortunately, one careless piglin fires the first shot, triggering an all-out golem assault that flattens the invaders. Amid the chaos, Henry and Natalie sneak toward the portal. Malgosia commands a new mega hog beast to stop them, but the flying golem general intercepts. Steve, now suited in diamond armor, tries to take down Malgosia himself, but he misjudges a leap. The queen shatters his armor with a single blow. Steve's counterattack? Chickens. Yes, he pelts her with chickens. Meanwhile, Henry loads the teleportation pearl into his hand cannon and launches himself straight to the top of the portal, where the sphere is located. He's just about to grab it when the hog beast fires. Henry falls, until he's caught midair by Garrett in a hot air balloon, alive and back from the destroyed bridge. From the sky, Garrett and Henry unleash fireballs, destroying the tower above the portal and breaking the sphere's magical hold. The clouds part, sunlight floods the land, and the piglins instantly turn to zombies. Steve approaches Malgosia and tells her calmly, "It's over." He joins the crowd gathering by the portal to say his goodbyes. He sets Dennis free, entrusting him to Dawn, and Henry asks if he wants to stay. Steve considers it, but despite the darkness waiting back home, he chooses to return. As the others step through the portal, Steve hesitates, then follows. Back in the real world, life is looking up. Garrett pays off his debts by creating a video game inspired by their adventure. He and Steve now perform as a musical duo in their newly popular game store. Dawn opens a petting zoo, Natalie runs self-defense classes. Henry builds a working jetpack prototype and flies it to school, much to his classmates' envy. End of film.